Hello, welcome to my first video from my basement gym. This one I'm going to mostly talk about hip flexors and adductors on special request. I've done a previous video about hip mobility. Go watch that one if mobility seems to be more of your issue. I'm definitely going to go a lot into kind of stretching and mobility of specifically the hip flexor and the adductors, but there's also a component of hip joint mobility. In my other video, a lot more components in hip mobility other than just these two muscles, but one thing I'll touch on first in that line is the hip flexor, the kettlebell weight shift. This one I like doing just to open up my hips for like a deep squat. Say we need to be able to kind of get into our squat position, and if we're lacking ability of opening up our hip, this is an easy way to test it. Just see if you can get in this figure 4 position. Can your knee come down pretty close to the ground? Not everyone will be able to come down. Most people should be able to kind of come down into this relative position. If you find that you're stuck up here, then this might be a good way to start if you're having issues through here. I really like, and this is in my other video as well, but I'll go over quickly, rotating this down leg in, keeping this leg out here, keeping the hips forward, chest straight up, and then leaning into this. Leg should feel a good stretch through this side as well as this side. Really trying to open this knee up. These other things I'm going to talk about fall mainly for the people who are just trying to get your hip flexors and adductors stronger. I group these together because they kind of have a lot of connection between the two. Separate muscles, but there's a lot of fascial connections that make them run together, make them kind of work together. So those of you dealing with tendonitis issues, tightness issues, working on one will help the other and vice versa. So let's get into hip flexor real quick. Just stretching, right? We need to be able to just stretch it. There's passive stretches that you can do, but you're gonna get more bang out of your buck. The more effort you put in, the more you're gonna get out of it. So I really like this one, this couch stretch. Get your knee back on something. The wall works great. It's simple. You can throw up on a couch, bed, whatever. And then just kind of lunge through this. Should feel a good stretch through your quad as well as your hip flexor. I really like engaging into the wall with my foot, trying to kick my foot into the wall, driving my knee down into the ground. Like I'm gonna try to move this pad forward. It may not go anywhere, it may just be against the ground, but I'm trying to intently engage those muscles as I go through the motion. If that's too hard on your quad, maybe you have an issue with your long quad, your rectus, that is a hip flexor, then maybe we dial that back and just do just a kneeling lunge, and that's gonna hit the hip flexor a little bit more. Specifically, throwing that foot up with a lot of stretch on the quad, maybe you don't need that. So just kind of the same thing here. But again, driving that knee down into the pad or into the ground. Towel works great. Will get you a little bit more bang for your buck. Keeping that engagement through that muscle, and then going through the motion. Then we can talk a little bit about that's mobility. Then we kind of can work it out and do mobility at the same time. One of them that I really like is a slide back. I really like working with slides. Gets us the ability to have mobility while putting a muscle under length and tension. So I really like finding something that you can slide well on. It could be a tile, it could be a towel on the floor. Sliding back, you're having to load this leg while it's lengthening out. I could just be up here and this leg's not doing much at all, but I got that weight back a little bit. So I'm sliding this back. I really like doing this near a door frame so I can pull myself back up, requiring very little effort at all. And then on my way back down, load this back seat, slide this back all the way. You can also do this with some type of assistance next to you, table, a chair. That way you can kind of take a little bit of that load off, make it not so hard. Another thing that I'll do along the same lines is use a foam roller. This is a little bit more advanced, takes a lot more strength, great exercise. You start just with your ankle on the foam roller, get into like that split squat, isometric, and then stay loaded again through that back seat as you extend out and come back. Extend out and come back. And you can kind of work how much load you want to put on that leg. This is going to be a lot harder, and this I can kind of hang out here all day. So you can tailor it to what you need. Once that gets easier and you get a little bit more mobility through there, you can do it starting at your foot and getting that lever a lot further away. Makes it quite a bit harder from the start, and then as you extend, then you get way more length and back, a lot harder. That's a really good one, I found. The next one that we can get into is a little bit more easy. Those are a little bit more of the harder mobility ones, but we can do like an easy straight leg raise, right, laying on our back. I find that if you are seated against a wall and really get your back flat against the wall, really isolates that hip flexor, and you can get a lot more drive through the muscle that we're trying to work. And then again, add weight to that, kind of band to that, like such. Simply just add it to the other leg, and you're going to get not nearly a direct line of pull by putting another leg, but it's pretty simple. You're going to work a lot of that lateral glute, but throw your other leg on top of that, you're going to work it out pretty good. A cuff weight is going to be a whole lot better. Next, what we can do, then let's see, the L sit, and you can do that just seated as well. It's a lot harder, a lot more like core strength. You can do it hanging, really good. Straight leg raise. Then we got to think about strengthening in a neutral position. So we're strengthening it in this extended position. You can strengthen it within a flexed position, in this end range of flexion. Then we have this neutral position, which I don't really think about strengthening it in very much. And that could just simply be a plank is a good way to do that. I really like a single leg plank. We throw that single leg down, and then now hip flexors taking a lot of that load. You can even do single arm, and I would cross load this single arm, get a little bit closer to you, and that requires a whole lot more hip flexor, a little bit more core to that side. As well as if you get up off a bench see me here. I really like to. That way you can come off the edge a little bit, get that lower range slightly, but then work up into that neutral range. You can sit here with 2 legs, right? You can do a V-sit, a lot of core. Put the other leg down. Allows you to kind of stabilize through your hips. And as you keep your legs straight, you're just isolating that core a lot. I guess you could do this on the ground a little bit as well, but being able to get deeper and then raise up, I really like. You can also just do on the ground, raise up and hold. So those are the kind of mid-range ones that you can do. As well as we gotta keep getting stronger through this end range of flexion. This one that's commonly seen. I really like the kettlebell. It's a good amount of weight. You can start with cup weights. If you're feeling weaker, like this around you, and you can raise it up. If I really like the kettlebell, get up on a step, because if I'm here, I mean, yeah, I'm getting that like top range, but then I'm just hitting these end range pulses. Being able to get up on something. This isn't that sturdy. I usually use my stair. I don't have a box right now, but something that you can stand up on and then raise up nice and strong, let it come down slow is important. You do not want to just like let it fall down. The control on the way down is just as important as being strong towards the very top. One more key on this one is being strong through your downside hip. You don't want to be kind of loose through here and just hucking it back up. I really like to stay strong and engaged through this downside glute, keeping my pelvis locked in, and that way I can drive up through this side, kind of imposing my pelvis, so driving back through this glute and driving up through this hip flexor. Again, here, strong through this glute, stable through my core. I'm not kind of doing this, helping it back up. Staying neutral through your core, spine. Strong, stable through the glute, drive up, slow down. Up, slow down. That's about it for my hip flexor. Let's move on to the adductors. Simple one, everyone knows, stretching, butterfly pose. Right, get those adductors. I really like that one. Pretty easy, though. I think we can make it a little bit harder. We can grab some weight here. So the butterfly. We don't have to use weight right away. Again, I really like the back flat against the wall. We're sitting here, and then maybe we're kind of just stressing the joints a little bit, getting that pelvis to rock under. Feel that stretch a bit more through there. I say heels as close as we can get it to our pelvis. Right here, maybe we're just kind of, again, putting not the right stress on our hips. Back against the wall, heels close to you. You can start off just by using your hand and push down and give your hands a little bit of resistance too. I'm not just pushing down. I can be here and I'm loading them until they kind of give out. Loading. And just slowly letting them die down into more of a stretch. Right, I could sit here, relax, and just crank on and push down if I'm actively resisting against my hands. Get a little bit of an arm workout too. Or you can grab some weight, let the weights drag down slowly, slowly, slowly into that stretch. This is 15 pounds. I've safely gone up to, I haven't done it in a while. I'll tell you, 55 is too much for me. I'm 170 pounds. I think 35 pounds is okay. 15 right now, it's okay. But do as much as you can safely. Don't want to tear anything. That's a good one. Cool. So again, a lot of what I'm doing, loading through that lengthened position, I think our hips really like mobility and giving it that strength through the ranges of motion, allow it then to safely open up the mobility and become more mobile, because your muscles know that it's safe and you're strong to be in those deep ranges. So being stronger and flexible is always better than just being strong. All right, now along those same lines, I found this one just by kind of playing around. I actually think one of my athletes found this one for me. Don't need to wait just a minute. So, not everyone can do a split. Everyone can try to do a split. So, I have these slidey pads here. Get something that's going to slide well. You get a towel, sock on a hardwood floor. Start with like a table. So a kitchen works great. So you can, this is a little too low for me, but I think a kitchen works great for these, because you can rest your elbows on the table and then just slide as far as your mobility will take you into that split, and then you can just help yourself back up. Super easy. We'll do a couple reps here. Just slide into that stretch. I try to stay pretty neutral with my pelvis. Trying to lean too far forward. You're naturally going to, if you're holding on to something, you're going to want to kind of do this. I really load it up, try to stay more tall with it. That way I can kind of feel my pelvis a little bit better, gaining a little bit more mobility rather than compensating through other types of motions. Another compensation here, this you can kind of see, is foot positioning. So keeping those toes forward, you're then going to load up your adductors a bit more. If you open up that feet, open up your feet and slide out like that, then you're just kind of loading up your hamstrings a little bit more. Not a bad thing, but maybe that's not the exercise that you're trying to get. Yeah, so you can start off just trying to go down. And you don't need a table to push yourself up. I can simply just kind of reset myself. Going back up, don't even worry about going back up at this point. Same type of thing as a Nordic hamstring curl. First, you're just gonna get stronger on the way down. The more that you strengthen the eccentric, the down phase, then eventually the up phase is gonna get stronger. I can't do nearly as far going down or going up as I can go down. I can go down pretty far at this point. Haven't done it in a while. But coming up, I can only go right here. And that's a good one to train as well. Using assistance, right? Just engage in the ground and push yourself back up, or help yourself up with the table. And then I've recently been loading this up a bit more. This is 50 pounds. I don't see anything wrong with really loading this up, as long as you have something safe to bottom out your range at. I wouldn't want to load up too much and then get caught in this deep position and then either drop the weight or just tear my adductors. So a box or something, these work really well for my mobility. So load this up, stay tall, tight through the glutes as well. And then I keep my feet pointed forward. So I'm just loading those adductors, and then I can just slide. And then I'm done with that rep. Reset and do it again. So that one I've really liked, and it really feels good on my adductors lately. And then we can do these are simple, these next couple. We can do, everyone knows, side plank, right? Where we can take out that bottom leg, just throw that top leg, which is then driving the ground with our adductor, into this adductor side plank. That looks a lot similar to something that we call a Copenhagen, which you can put your foot up on a bench, a box, whatever. But something elevated then will make it slightly harder and harder as you get more and more elevated, thus increasing kind of the range of flexibility that we need to be able to then hold our weight up. And we can do a hold here. I love a hold, love the holds. We can do rep outs, which won't look that great at this height. Bring this in. Also set it here and then work through our range, not just a hold, but working through our range. I really try not to open my hips. If anything, I err closed a little bit. This way I'm, again, just using my hamstring. Great exercise, trying to work your hamstring, weird plank variation, but getting your hips to stay closed as you're doing the exercise, great. Then you can put a dumbbell right within your kind of hip socket on your glute med. Makes this a wonderful adductor exercise. And then we can kind of tie our hip flexors and our adductors together with a couple of exercise variations. Again, I talked about the straight leg raise, right? Simple enough. You can, if this is the level that you're at, doing this enough times, great exercise. Opening up your toe a little bit, you can see that. Open your toe a little bit. That's gonna then recruit a little bit more of that adductor. Then we can also do this kind of laying on your side, right? Put our foot forward. This is really good. This is my favorite early stage adductor strain exercise. All right, just trying to get that to come off the ground. I really like to get some intent, really find that top of our range here, and then let go. Don't be afraid to squeeze into those end ranges. Find that. Back here, like this, you can also do it. Recruits a little bit, different fibers, you're still working the same muscle, different fibers of the same muscle. But hips staying stacked, you can do this straight leg raise. And also kind of point your toe towards the ceiling, right? Then you're gonna get a little bit more hip flexor. You can kind of lay with your hips a little bit more angled. Open up that toe for adductor, close that toe, more for hip flexor. So again, you have 6 exercises you can do. 2 from here, toe closed, toe open, at an angle, toe closed, toe open, and leg under side, toe open, toe closed. Those are the easy way, that's the easy way to kind of work both of them out. And then the last one I have, change the camera angle so you can see me a bit better. If you find a wall you can be against, cabinet, whatever, then you can both do a raise, which I really like. That's a whole nother one. If you can get a ankle cup weight. Kettlebell seems to be a little bit too heavy for this exercise. But I talked about the bent knee. There's also the straight knee raise. I love this one. This one I've really started to use a bit more of, trying to gain more flexibility within my hamstrings, which is a whole nother topic of why hip flexor strength through the end range of terminal flexion helps with hip flexor or with hamstrings. I digress. Getting that straight leg raise all the way up into flexion, great exercise, especially if you combine it with a single leg balance exercise. Throw yourself on a Bosu ball, on an RX pad, then you're both working your balance as well as your hip flexion. Love these holds. Really drives neural drive into the muscle, that brain to muscle connection. But then again, you can add in that adductor work while you're working that hip flexor. Against a wall, a door frame works really well. You can stand in the door frame, then you have this kind of flat wall to work your adductors against. I like to lean into it a little bit, not too much, don't topple over, but try to get some leverage so you can drive your adductor into the wall while coming up and down. Up. Again, I'm not leaning back into it, staying stable through my pelvis, strong through my glute, coming up, driving this way, and coming down. Let's tie it all together. We're this far into it. Let's tie it all together with one last one. You may have seen this one. Shameless plug to knees over toes guy. The ATG split squat, front foot elevated split squat. A box works better, but you just need a step. You just need a bed. It doesn't necessarily matter. A chair works great. But getting this front foot elevated then allows you to squat down into this split squat, easily stretching out your hip flexor. Again, don't open out toe. Well, you want to, you can work out that adductor, right? But the common version of this is toe pointing forwards, so you can then get more length through this hip flexor. Again, I could be way up here and there's not much going on, but if I'm neutral or a little bit more back seat, just like the slide back, then I can load up the hip flexor as I'm going down into that deep. The straighter the knee is, the more load you're gonna get through the hip flexor. If I'm bent and just kind of doing this, then there's not a whole lot of stretch going on. Get more stretch by straightening out that knee. Hope you could see all that. What we can do, then once you have gained good strength and mobility with an elevated surface, then is to move yourself down a level, down a level, down a level, until you can get on flat ground, and then go down into the full version, which I don't have yet, or maybe had once but have lost, which is hamstring fully covering calf, knee straight in the back. See how as I straighten my knee, I lose a lot of that range that is coming from that hip flexor. That was a lot of information. Good thing it's on video. You can rewind that. Cool. And come back for more. Thanks. Bye.